Hey guitar players, Ari Koinuma here, and today is episode 4 of my musical theater gig series. Today we're going to talk about how you survive the actual performance. So it helps to keep in mind a few priorities. When you are playing in musical theater, obviously you are there to support the actors. You have to blend in, you shouldn't stick out when you're not supposed to. Keeping the volume in check is very important. It's better for you to be not heard than be overheard in this situation, which obviously can rub the guitarist's ego the wrong way, but that's just the name of the game here. And something that took me a few times to sort of sink in is that if you're not sure, if you're lost in the music, which can happen from time to time because things can happen in live theater, like maybe the actors didn't come in when they were supposed to, or there was certain vamp that took longer than expected, or you miscounted something, a lengthy break, and you got lost. Some other parts that you were using as a cue didn't come in, things like that, right? When you're not sure, don't play. It's better not to play than play wrong parts, because playing wrong parts can be distracting to other musicians, to the actors. It's better not to play. Now, there are parts where the guitar is the featured part and you do need to play, hopefully at the right time. So that is a judgment call, but in a lot of the situations, the instinct is to just kind of play something. But in musical theater situation, the first instinct is to play only when you're sure that you should play. If it's a larger pit where there is a conductor, obviously you need to keep the conductor in your sort of line of sight. So you want to position your music stand so that even when you're looking at the score, you see the conductor in your sort of a peripheral vision, so you can kind of align yourself to the correct beats, which is important because in musical theater, a lot of meter changes come and go, so it's very easy to lose track of, okay, are we in 4 or 3 or 2 beats per beat measure kind of thing. This is not a typical for guitar players who may be playing small ensembles that don't have conductors, but if there is a conductor, it's obviously important that you keep the conductor in your line of sight. Now this is kind of unique to guitar players in that I think guitar is an instrument where even for the most experienced of us, sometimes you really have to look down at your neck to figure out where you're playing. And that means that you're taking your eyes off of the score and looking at the instrument, and then looking back up to sort of see at the score, look at the score again. And this, in my experience, can be really tricky because in the heat of the moment, if you look down and you look up, you might not keep track of where in the score you are. And so this is a bit of a, again, goes back to the preparation thing too. What I ended up usually doing is that these parts I end up having to memorize, so that even when I'm looking at my hands to execute a part, I remember what happens after that. And then I sometimes like put a big circle around particular parts on the score so that my eyes draw on it after I have to look down to play a particular part, so that I can orient myself where we are in the score. This is obvious to musicians who are used to sight reading, but the key to reading score is to not be reading where you are, but reading what's coming ahead, so that you can prepare for what's coming. And if you're having to look at a particular part to remember how to play, then unfortunately you're underprepared. The score is there just to remind you how the music goes. You don't have to memorize every single part. but what the score is doing is to telling you what's coming up, not what you're supposed to be playing in any moment. So getting in the habit of always looking ahead in the score is something that it took me, again, some time to get used to. And one of the key piece of equipment that I haven't mentioned very much so far is the volume pedal. In my setup, I have two volume pedals, one before the gain and one after the gain. And depending on the situation, I use both of them. Or, I mean, well, not at the same time. Well, I could use it at the same time if I really had to. The first volume pedal can double as a wah pedal, and then the second one can set the overall volume. Sometimes I do need to back down on the gain or something like that if in the moment, if I'm feeling like I need to if the tone that I have is too gainy. So I like the flexibility of having volume pedal. And then the way to approach it is that you want to set the overall volume at a full volume at the level where you have to take the solo, right? And then have the volume pedal backed up so that you're playing at lower volume most of the time. And this is particularly important in situations where it's a larger pit and there's like a brass or winds player in the band or in the pit, because they have a huge dynamic range and they can play very soft or they can be just blustering loud. And guitar, electric guitar or acoustic guitar, just doesn't have that kind of dynamic range, so you have to simulate that with the volume pedal. So I'm constantly writing the volume pedal throughout the performance to make sure that I am at the appropriate volume level, make sure I'm blending and not sticking out. And yeah, it's very often that I'm told to just, the conductor might say, oh, you're too loud and things like that. So being able to react in the moment with how loud you are is very practical in musical theater. I played some gigs where we went direct and then we used in-ear monitors. It's needless to say, it's important to get the mix right in the in-ear monitors, but what you want to listen to first and foremost is yourself and usually the piano. In musical theater, the main piano part is usually the heart of the score, and you need to be able to hear it to be able to orient where you are in the song. And then, of course, being able to listen to the actors is important as well, because vocals form an important cue. I am not super great at counting many measures of rest, so I usually end up writing in certain lyrics that I'm listening for as a cue for me to come back into after a long rest and things like that. So be able to hear the singer is important as well. Musical theater is very, again, long and intense gig in that you're playing for 2 hours a night, and then you're playing multiple shows. One weekend could be 3 to 4 performances and multiple weekends in a show. So being able to take care of your calluses and then just your overall energy is important. I had snacks and drinks at my station so that like I could take a sip or take a bite in between songs. Not to overplay during warm-ups and things like that, so that your calluses stay intact when you're playing until the end, right? It's very important. One of the things I actually kind of enjoy about musical theater pit gigs is that I get to set up my station how I want it. And especially if I have multiple guitars that I'm going to be switching back and forth, I strategically place my guitar stand in a way so that I can easily grab and then make sure that the cables don't get all bunched up and create a mess and things like that. Just keeping your space organized and optimized for your performance is, I find it kind of fun. Some shows I stood and then with a total stool so that like I don't, when I sit, even when I'm resting, I'm not like changing the height of my eyesight. That works really well. Other shows I've sat down the whole time. that can happen either way. I actually generally enjoy standing more than sitting because sitting for 2 hours playing is a drag, and I even sometimes bring a cushion for my butt so that my butt doesn't hurt from sitting on the chair. The best kind of setup actually is when the pit is actually on stage. You feel most included in the action in that sense. And in one show, I was even like starting to react against like some of the on stage actions when I'm not playing, and that's a lot of fun. Although being on stage, the controlling your volume is the trickiest. So again, a lot of shows don't do that, and then sometimes the pit is obviously on the side or in underground under the stage, and then there have been situations where the pit is in totally separate room, and that's a bummer because I don't hear or I don't even see how many people are in in the theater. I might hear their reactions in the distance, but you're not getting a lot of energy from the audience. But there are upsides in that obviously you're not seen by the audience, so you can do whatever during the times when you're not playing, and you don't have to dress up in black attire during then, and that the volume is less of a concern in a separate, secluded situation. Alright, I think that covers the ground as far as what I learned about playing musical theater gigs so far, and then after playing 8-ish shows in 2 years, I feel like I'm really getting the hang of it, and I'm really enjoying, and I'm looking forward to playing more shows in the near future. It is a demanding but also rewarding gig situation, and if you get good at it, I think that you find yourself in demand because these are situations that again call for very particular set of skills that are not super easy to find. So if you enjoy storytelling and being part of a bigger thing and being part of a bigger event that you can invite your friends and families to, and meet new people, learn new music, make good connections. I think musical theater is a great gig for guitar players. I encourage all of us to get more into it. Alright? Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.